I'm finally going to talk about my pre-college program experience at the California College of the Arts in Oakland. And I've been meaning to make this video for a while. I kind of have been putting it off because I know it's going to be kind of long, most likely. And there's just a lot of things that I need to kind of remember and put together, all the information that I have on this whole process and experience. Because it has been a little while since I went through it, over a year I guess. I went in the summer after my junior year, before my senior year, which is the most common time for you to do that, I'm pretty sure. Everyone else seemed to be around that age at the program. I know there was a couple seniors, but that's, I mean, cutting it pretty close, I guess. I mean, if you're taking like a gap year, I can understand that. But yeah, most people were there their summer before senior year. The application process was very similar to just an art college application. It was a lot more simple. If you don't know what a art school application is like, it's basically, you know, you have a portfolio and you maybe have to write a little essay or something like that. So this was pretty similar. We did have to submit a portfolio through SlideRoom, which is what is used for all the portfolios that you use to apply to art school. And I think it was only like around 5 or 10 images, so it was not as much as applying to art school, a regular art school application was. It was much less and much more simple. And I know we had to write a small essay, but mine was only like a paragraph, and it was like a really simple prompt too. So the application was very easy. You did have to apply for financial aid if you needed it, which I did. And I think I got a merit scholarship and some financial aid. It was pretty good, but I think I still had to pay around $2,000. I'm pretty sure. Maybe a little bit less, but the full tuition is $3,000 for it. The application fee is $50, and I'm assuming that you could probably skip the application fee like a normal college application, but I'm not sure about that. And the housing fees was $1,305, and that's non-refundable. And you had to pay a deposit, a damage deposit of $150, just to make sure that, you know, you don't damage anything, you leave your dorm as spotless as you got it. And I think that I got $100 of that back. They took $50 because apparently my roommate and I left a sticky hanger on the ground, which I have no idea what that means. And my roommate and I, to this day, are still very confused about why we left how we left a sticky hanger on the ground. Where was it? Because we searched the room like frantically, and what was sticky? Like, I'm just so confused by that whole thing. But I'll talk about the dorms later in a second. So my family kind of split up to pay for that, both my grandparents and my mom. And I'm really thankful that I was able to do that and go. You know, even with the financial aid and stuff, it's not, you know, a crazy discount. You applied for different groups when you applied, and there was like illustration, painting, animation, clay, sculpting, stuff like that. And my group was painting and sculpture. I chose that one because I thought it was the most interesting. It was like the only one that had 2 things in it, and I thought that would be really cool to do because I was kind of in between sculpture and painting, the clay sculpture and painting, because you know, I kind of wanted to try something new, but I enjoyed painting so much. You know, I wanted to do something that I enjoy and I'm really good at as well, and be surrounded by other people who love that too. I'm kind of glad that I chose to do the sculpture and painting because that one, it was it was more work, but yeah, it just felt like I was with a lot more people that matched my attitude towards art making and learning, pushing yourself, stuff like that. And I'd recommend that to anyone who is thinking of going to college for fine art. That one would probably fit most as well, because they don't really have like groups based on, you know, majors and stuff like that. I mean, they do have illustration and animation, but you know, they don't have something directly named fine art, and I think that one is a pretty good fit if you're thinking of doing fine art like I am. Also in the application there was a little like roommate survey, which would help you get matched up with a roommate or roommates that fit your lifestyle, would be a good match for you, I guess. So you kind of had to answer questions like, when do you go to sleep usually, when do you wake up? So I kind of said that like I do like to stay up late and I do like to sleep in. There was some more questions like, what is your feeling about like playing music or stuff like that. And I'll talk about dorms a little bit more, like I said, later, but first I just want to say like what you should bring. You obviously want to pack carefully, especially if you're like going on a plane like I had to. You just have to like stuff as much stuff as you can in like one bag, basically in a carry-on. So I packed some clothes in, you know, I picked a lot of like, just like, you know, very versatile pieces that I could put in my wardrobe and a few like favorite things. Because I knew that I was gonna try and do like a little bit of shopping, like vintage shopping, or get some souvenirs like t-shirts or something like that. So I definitely wanted to leave a little bit of space, but I didn't want to like go crazy, so I packed my bag pretty tightly. And I brought a film camera, which I would really recommend because it turned out really good, and it was actually my first time using and developing the film from my film camera. And so I think I brought one roll of color and one roll of black and white film along. And I also brought a Polaroid, which was really fun. I know some other people brought Polaroids too. And I think that was just another fun way of capturing memories and moments. So if that's something you're interested in, I would definitely recommend that because I really enjoyed that a lot. You know, it's just the same with traveling anywhere. Like if you're in a new place, it's really fun to just take like some film pictures or Polaroids as you're kind of like walking around discovering a new place and atmosphere and meeting a lot of new people. You know, obviously bring all your toiletries. I brought some makeup, but I didn't like bring like all my makeup palettes or anything like that. I just kind of brought things that I could use. I mean, all my stuff fit into like a small makeup bag like that big. And I actually forgot a hairbrush, but I had to buy it, which wasn't too bad. But yeah, just make a checklist and make sure that you have everything in it. I don't know how I forgot hairbrush, but I did. Bring quarters for washing your clothes. Washing machines, they take quarters, like regular typical dorm washing machines and dryers. They're gonna have to take quarters, so I brought a ton of quarters. Some like Tide Pod packets because it was easier than bringing like detergent and then having it spill all over your bag or something like that. So for spending money, I spent around $200, maybe a little bit less. I did go shopping a little bit. I didn't buy very much stuff at all. I know some people went pretty crazy. I didn't. I only bought like a couple things, but most of it was groceries. But yeah, I think $200 is a pretty good amount to bring. If you want to bring a little bit more just to be safe, that's good too. And it's always good to bring some cash, but not all of it was in cash. My transportation, I had to go on a plane, and I think the flight was around $200 round trip, I think. And it was a 6-hour flight, and it was my first time, it was my first time being across the country alone. It was my first time having to be in a plane all alone and everything like that in the airport. I completely thought that I was just gonna miss my flight. It was gonna be a disaster, but everything worked out perfectly fine. I was really alert, which I'm usually not. I'm very in my head and in the clouds, but I'm actually pretty good at traveling alone. I've learned I can, you know, be pretty alert when I absolutely have to. And just paying attention to the signs around me and stuff was really important for me to do. and focus on. Once my plane landed and I got to the airport, I had to take an Uber to the actual dorm and school. So it was a bit confusing for me figuring out how to like get the Uber. Like, I didn't know that there was a specific spot that the Ubers had to go to in the airport, so that was a bit confusing for me, but I figured it out eventually. And I got my luggage, which was also a bit confusing for me to figure out, but it all was fine. I got my luggage and got my Uber and it was all okay. It was only a quick drive to the actual dorm. I think it was like 15 minutes or something like that. And I also could have taken the train, the BART, but I just thought that'd be too complicated. I just wanted to do an Uber. And I really didn't Uber too much or do anything like that while I was there because that was just another expense and I didn't really want to do that. And the bus systems there are actually really cheap. It's like $1, which is pretty good. I know for here it's like $1.75. So I basically just took the bus everywhere that I needed to. And I know the BART even is like $6 or something like that. Maybe it's not that expensive, but I know it's more expensive than the bus. So once I got to the dorm, I was in the main dorm, the biggest one, which is basically on campus. It's kind of across the street from all the school buildings and stuff. There is one dorm that's a bit smaller in the actual campus, like right there. But I was in the main dorm, which kind of had check-in and stuff, and was kind of where everything happened. Basically, if they had any little events in any of the like common rooms or whatever, it would be in that dorm. So that was kind of nice. There was also a dorm that I kind of really wanted that was across the street from that one, and it was newer. It was much smaller, but the rooms were a lot bigger. You had to have more roommates, but you got a lot more space, and you got a balcony, which I thought was pretty nice. But I'm pretty happy with my dorm. I mean, it was a pretty typical dorm, very small, and it had a window. I was on the second floor, and there was no air conditioning in the dorms, which I thought was pretty crazy. You know, it's the middle of the summer. Why isn't there any air conditioning? But I didn't really realize that in Oakland it really doesn't get very hot. It's pretty much the perfect weather all the time there, which was really nice. It's basically just 60s and 70s every day, at least in June when I was there. Another thing was the Wi-Fi was really bad in the dorm. I remember that. It was a struggle to do pretty much anything. I couldn't really watch very much TV or do anything like that using the dorm Wi-Fi. It was pretty much useless, which was really frustrating because sometimes, especially when, you know, traveling can be so stressful, sometimes you just want to like watch your favorite show or something, especially when you're still adjusting and it's like the first week. So the rules were kind of strict, I thought. I was kind of surprised by how strict the rules were. We kind of learned all about them in the orientation day that was there, I think the morning after we checked in and everything. They had some little like get to know everyone events that I didn't really take part in. And I just didn't really feel like it. But the rules that, I know there's a lot of rules, but these are the main ones and the most important ones that I can remember. We had to be in the dorm by 10 on weekdays and by 11 on weekends, not including Sunday. So Friday was a weekend and Saturday was a weekend. I kind of wasn't expecting that. And it was pretty strict. If you weren't there, then you had to come in the next night from like 8 to 10, and you had to sit and collect everyone's IDs as they were coming in. That's how you checked in for the night. You just handed in your ID so that they could count everybody and they could see who was there or who wasn't there. So that was pretty annoying. I actually had to do that twice. One was because my roommate and I and our friend were too caught up in watching like Gordon Ramsay shows and videos that we didn't really realize that it was past 10 and we hadn't handed in our IDs. So the counselors came up and they knocked on our door and they were like, oh, you guys need to come in for check-in tomorrow night. And that was a big, it was really frustrating because it's super boring. You can't be on your phones, you just have to sit there in the, in the main lobby for 2 hours and just do nothing. I mean, it's a big time sucker too, especially when it got to the last few weeks and we had so much assignments and work to do. If you had to do that, you're kind of, sucking away a lot of your time. The other time I don't remember why I had to stay, but I guess I didn't make it. And it was actually really common. I remember one day there were so many people there, just sitting there on the floor and in chairs, just doing nothing. One of the most frustrating rules for me was that we couldn't leave the campus at all without 2 other people. This was pretty frustrating because I am not that good at making that many friends, and so I only had a few. So if they weren't available to leave and go grocery shopping or do something fun, then you couldn't really do anything, which I thought was pretty frustrating because sometimes I just wanted to run to the grocery store and get a couple things and come back, but I couldn't without checking out with 2 other students. And I actually did break this rule at the last week because I had to ship something back home and I had to do it during lunch and nobody else was going to come with me. Everything was really frantic in the last week. Everybody was finishing up assignments, so I just snuck out during our lunch hour and I took a Lyft to the post office, shipped my package, came back, and nobody noticed. I was really thankful because you can definitely get in trouble for that. I know someone actually had to get sent home because they kept on leaving campus alone just to take phone calls or something like that. Okay, so I am back. My battery died, so I had to come back later. I mean, I didn't have any time. Tuesdays are my only free day, basically, that I have sunlight. So, and hopefully we can finish the video. I know it's gonna be long, but I think that won't really matter because if you are watching this, you're probably thinking about going to either CCA's pre-college program or another pre-college program. So you're probably just, researching all over the place and willing to watch a long video, I feel like. I just ended by talking about different rules and how that one person got sent home because she walked off the campus alone. So the rules were actually pretty strict, and I know some places like this, they'll make a bunch of rules and then they won't actually follow through, but they definitely did. And I kind of understand that they were trying to keep us safe, but also I was a little bit surprised because we are, we were minors, but we were 17 years old. Some people were 18, so it seemed a little bit silly. And I know other pre-college programs were much less, strict about stuff like this. I know Parsons' program just basically you're on your own. You have a lot more freedom to just wander around the city. So there's definitely pros and cons with this one. I know parents might think that this program would be better because it is a bit more protective and stuff, which I can understand wanting that. But yeah, if you lived in Oakland, I know some people, they didn't really live in Oakland, but they lived nearby and maybe an hour away, so they still lived in dorms. If you have that kind of situation going on, then every guest you bring is going to have to be checked in at the lobby, which is pretty standard, I feel like. And they also have to leave by the time that we all have to be in our rooms and stuff. The room has to be completely spotless. When you leave, you can't leave anything behind. So I know my roommate kind of left in a hurry, so I actually had to clean up some of their stuff. But yeah, just leaving nothing behind at all, and no marks anywhere. Everything has to be super perfect clean. So I know this was a struggle for a lot of people. I mean, things happen. You're living there for a month. Art students are messy, so there's definitely people who, it was pretty common to not get at least your full deposit back. But I just have no idea about the sticky hanger thing. I wish I knew, but I have no idea. So I wanted to explain the counselor people that are kind of in charge of you. I'm not sure if they exactly call themselves counselors, but they're basically just freshmen at CCA that were like incoming sophomores, I guess. They were going to be sophomores that fall semester. So it was kind of weird. They were pretty young, pretty close to our age, but they had like so much power over us, and like they were so strict at times. And I know that really bothered some people. It kind of bothered me, but I didn't worry about it too much. So I'm definitely going to start inserting some photos in. Like I said, I brought my film camera and I brought my Polaroid. I took lots of pictures because I really wanted to document this, because I've been wanting to go to California for so long and I finally got there and I was just so excited. So I'll definitely put some of the photos that I took throughout here as I'm talking about what's going on. So I want to talk about the school layout. They are actually in the process of moving their campus to just San Francisco. It used to be, or it is right now, a dual campus in Oakland and San Francisco, but I think they still have a couple years till they get that fully done. The Oakland campus was for like freshman and sophomore mostly, and then you would go to the San Francisco campus as you become an upperclassman. The San Francisco campus, they're actually very different. The San Francisco campus I got to visit once. They had similar cafes in both, but it was very like industrial looking and modern in the San Francisco campus. Very bright and just kind of like one big building with a lot of different rooms. And the Oakland campus is more spread out. There's actually grass and stuff, which is crazy for California. And it's kind of like a little oasis of art. I heard someone explain it like that, and I kind of agree. I love the Oakland campus, and I think it's not for everybody. Like some people might think it's like too grungy for them or something. There is, in the painting building, it is just kind of like wooden. It doesn't really feel like a complete building. It feels like almost like a cabin or something like that. It is like 2 floors though. I'll try and insert a picture of it if I can find one. But yeah, there's no like air conditioning in it or like insulation or something like that. It's just kind of like plain wood. But I really liked it. There's like high ceilings with windows and fans at the top. And there's murals. I think it's a beautiful campus. I didn't get to go into too many of the other buildings, but I know there's buildings for like more digital stuff. And they also had a beautiful sculpture section. They had a beautiful sculpture garden, which I walked around and I took some pictures of. And the whole sculpture building looked really beautiful as well. You could kind of peek in and see all these like pots and stuff, and it looked so like pretty and like nice to look at, I guess. But yeah, the Oakland campus has lots of trees. It's just a really nice little spot. And it was crazy to be there after years of kind of looking at their website and seeing what it looked like and kind of imagining myself in there. To actually be there was so crazy for me. And I wanted to talk about kind of my daily life in the pre-college program during the week. I would kind of wake up, get ready for school, then walk down and get my breakfast. I had a meal card for breakfast and lunch, so that's part of the reason why I only spent $200 for the whole month, was because my breakfast and lunch were covered during the week. So that was a big help. You basically got one drink and one meal item. It was pretty simple. There wasn't anything like big. For breakfast I got like a latte and a croissant. And I don't think they had too many vegan options either, but I know lots of people may do. Like you couldn't get like a soy milk latte or something like that. It wasn't like a very fancy, it was just like simple stuff. But they did actually have Thai tea, which I really enjoyed too. They had some pretty cool stuff. But yeah, that's what I would get for breakfast. And then for lunch I usually got quesadillas. I know that was a big, that was like pretty popular. Everybody loved the quesadillas. I usually got it with chicken, and then it would come with like sour cream and guacamole and salsa. It was really good. And then with lunch I'd probably just get like a drink in the cooler section, like some kind of juice or something like that. And then I would go to class. In my morning I would have my painting class, and then later I would have my sculpture class. I think this is how a lot of art schools do it. For studio classes at least, they're kind of like 3 hours each class. 10 to 1 is the painting class, and then you have like a 1 hour lunch break, and then, you know, 2 to 5 would be the sculpture class. That's basically how it was. And then after school, I would like finish up in my studio space. We actually got studio spaces if you were a painter, which was pretty cool. It was like a pretty nice amount of space too, and I really liked that. And the door was locked, so you couldn't like let other people from other majors or sections come in. You just had that whole space was just for our class. And I know some people broke this rule and got in trouble too, which was pretty annoying. And then after the studio, I would go home, watch TV with my roommate, eat dinner. We usually made meals together. I got along with my roommate really well, so sometimes we would get like a frozen pizza and make that in the community like kitchen part, and that was pretty fun. And yeah, if we needed to go grocery shopping, we would walk down with one other person, and the grocery store is really close by. It was a nearby walk, and yeah, we would just get our food, come back, work on our work, or do whatever basically. And on the weekends it was pretty relaxed. Sometimes we would have like fun little things planned. Other times it would just be like a relaxing day where we would do nothing, just like basically be in bed all day. But I want to talk about the fun stuff that we kind of did, the field trips and stuff like that, because that was a really nice element of this whole program, I thought. One of my favorites, probably my second favorite, was going to the MoMA in San Francisco. It was really fun. We all took a bus to the MoMA, and for each field trip you kind of have to sign up on a sheet if you're going or not, and then you have to be down in the lobby at a certain time, and then we all go onto the buses. So for the MoMA, we just kind of like walked around and looked at the art, and it was pretty fun. The MoMA in San Francisco is really beautiful actually. They have like a whole wall of like ferns and stuff, and they have like, beautiful sculptures, and it was a beautiful building with a beautiful view. I took lots of pictures of that view, and the art was very amazing to look at too. I think that was the first time I really had seen a Winnie Theobald painting, and it really caught my eye, and I had never even heard of him before, so that was a pretty influential moment for me, because I think Winnie Theobald is such an amazing painter, and I got to see one of his pieces in real life, so that was pretty great. And you could have either brought your food or bought something at the cafe. The cafe was like pretty expensive. I think I just brought my food. And we also had like a little time to go to the gift shop and get stuff if we wanted to. My absolute favorite field trip we took was to Santa Cruz. That was really fun, and we got to like ride the rides, and it was actually like a pretty hot day that day, which was interesting. I think it got up to like almost 80 degrees, which it was pretty rare for that area of California at least. So it was a very nice sunny day. I had to put on so much sunscreen. It is so sunny in California. There's never any clouds. That whole month I was there, I never saw a single cloud, a single raindrop, anything. And I didn't get as sunburned as I would have thought, but I put on sunscreen basically anytime I walked outside. But Santa Cruz was really fun. I got like a little t-shirt that said Santa Cruz on it. Had some good amusement park food. I had like cheese fries, I think, for lunch. And we had I'd say most of the time we spent was on the rides. It was actually pretty expensive to get like an unlimited ride band, but it ended up being like probably, we made sure that we went on enough rides to justify buying the unlimited ride ticket, which I feel like was like $40 or something like that. It was very expensive. And we had a little bit of time to go to the beach too, so I took some really nice film pictures there. They turned out really good. My film actually, I opened it up a little bit too early, I think, and I exposed the light to it, but it actually turned out really cool. I like the kind of effect that it turned out. I was really freaked out when I did that because I thought my film was going to be completely ruined, but it actually turned out pretty good, and I actually liked the effect. I know some people would think that's like bad, but I actually really liked it. It was actually a bit too chilly to swim in the water, but it was really fun to just be there by the ocean I didn't really even get into my bathing suit. I had my bathing suit under my clothes, but I think I took my shirt off and then still had my shorts. It was like not very warm. I think at that point it had gotten like low 70s or something like that. And the beach was very packed. But it was fun. It was a very cute little like amusement park. Very like candy colors and stuff like that. It was really pretty. And I think those were the only 2 field trips that I went on. They had a couple other ones that I just didn't really take part in. They didn't really strike my interest too much. I think one of the first ones they did was go to the Oakland Zoo. And I'm just not really a fan of zoos, so I didn't really sign up for that one. The last field trip that they had was going to the Oakland Graveyard, which I didn't really take part in either. I just didn't think it would be that exciting, I guess. I mean, graveyards are cool, but it didn't really interest me that much. So I mostly just did the 2 main ones that seemed the funnest to me and like the most essential. One of the other things I really enjoyed doing was just exploring California with the other people. My roommate, like I said, did live in California, so they showed us around, me and our other friends that we had made, and it was really fun to just walk around and explore. We went to a lot of vintage shops, and I got an amazing jacket. I'll actually go find it right now. This jacket at Mars Vintage in Berkeley, and it was an amazing find. It was like $30, and I almost didn't buy it because I thought I was being too impulsive because it was like the first thing I saw when I walked into like the first store we went to. But I'm so glad I did because I don't think I really found anything else. And it's just an amazing acid wash jacket with like leather, weird little like scales. It reminds me of something that Jareth would wear from Labyrinth, kind of. It's just like a very interesting look. It's just got like the sleeves are kind of puffy, but like I just think it's like the most beautiful thing ever. I love it so much. So I found that for $30, which I thought was amazing. Yeah, we just walked around. I think Berkeley was one of my favorite places to explore. It's just a really nice spot. We got some like bubble tea. It was a really fun time, and we got like the most amazing burritos ever. They were so good. And we went to Buffalo Exchange and some other vintage places. It was really cool. So I want to talk about the actual assignments that we got and had to work on at school. During my painting class, we only worked with acrylic paints. We didn't really get into oils at all, probably because they would have been really expensive to give every student a whole thing of oil paint. And they are obviously much more messy, and a lot of people are less aware of how to use oil paints. So one of the main things we did, my favorite, was we did a lot of nude figure paintings in that class, and mine turned out really well. I had never really painted on just canvas paper before, just like unstretched sheets of canvas, and it was really a good experience. And I really liked that material because you can just roll it up when you're done. It's like perfectly flexible, just a piece of cloth basically. So it was really nice also to ship back home. All I had to do was roll it up, and I got a little kind of cylinder thing that I just put my stuff in and shipped it off. So that was really nice. And my nudes turned out really well, and we actually worked with very diverse models, which I haven't really seen at other schools. I had never really seen models that were not skinny, and there was, you know, I think we worked with like one model who was white and skinny, and then everyone else was very diverse, and we worked with different skin tones and body shapes, and you know, female and male, and I thought that was really cool. And in our sculpture class, we did a plaster like sculpture where we had to carve away the plaster, and that was pretty fun. It was kind of messy, but it was pretty fun. And we did a lot of molds too. We got into it a little bit. I think that class it wasn't as put together, I think, as the painting one. I think the teacher had only heard that he was going to really be working in sculpture like a couple weeks before the actual program started, so he was a little bit unprepared, but it was okay. I still learned some stuff. It was interesting. We also did a cardboard sculpture. We had to come up with a wearable cardboard sculpture. So I did these big cardboard wings, which I was pretty happy with how they turned out. I couldn't really bring any of my sculptures back home. It wasn't just practical for me. I know that would bother some people, but for me, I don't have like a strong attachment to my work. So I was pretty okay with just tossing them. I think them main thing was just learning how to make them, not really keeping them forever. We had a show at the end of the whole program. We had like a last show where we had worked on like one main project for the last week or so and put a lot of work into it, and we were going to display it. So I just put up all the work that I had done throughout the course, and that was just kind of my little setup. But I know some people made like completely new projects to focus on for that show, and it was definitely more of an important thing for the people whose parents could actually come and see it. It was more like, oh, show your parents around and, you know, enjoy food and enjoy this show, and we'll have like presentations of the animation students' work and stuff like that. It was very like parent oriented, and for me and other people who just live too far away to have their parents come, it was a little bit uneventful, I guess. I walked around, I looked at the show a bit, I ate some food, and I saw the animation presentation, and then I kind of just like went back to my dorm. And that was the day before checkout. You could also check out later that day too, after the show, if you wanted to, if your parents were just like, we're gonna pick you up and go. So I know that's what my roommate did. And then I had like the night to myself. It was like very lonely. My first night sleeping alone for like a month, which was crazy. So yeah, I just like ate a little microwave food and then like went to sleep, and all my stuff was packed up. I had like cleaned the whole place out frantically, took my sheets off, basically just slept on like an empty dorm mattress. That was basically my last night in California. And then I woke up, I took my huge suitcase, and it was just like watching me carry that thing around was probably like so cringy. It was so heavy, and I just had so much stuff with me on the airport. So I returned my key to the main lobby, and I headed out. My Lyft came, picked me up, and then I was at the airport, and I got on my flight home. I left in the morning, and I got home. It was like dark out because it is a 6-hour flight. I probably left at like around 10 or something like that. So the whole thing went from like the end of June to like mid to end July. And I would say, in conclusion, stay in touch with the people that you meet at that program. Try and make lots of connections, because I think it's pretty useful to have a group of people like that are young artists, that are as focused in their art as you are. Like, everybody who goes to that program is going to be pretty determined with their art, because they are already looking into advancing their art and college before they're even in college. Well, as high schoolers, they're looking to make their art, pursue their art in this professional way. So I think everybody's going to really share your same mindset with that, or at least a lot of people are. So I think it's a really important thing to keep in touch with those people, because as you are applying to colleges and getting in and struggling with that whole thing, it's really nice to have people who are in your exact same boat. So I know that I kind of had a whole like Instagram DM group that we would talk about our struggles with applying to colleges, what colleges we were going to. I mean, there's people who went to RISD, there's people who went to Savannah College of Art and Design. Everybody kind of spread out everywhere. I know people who are going to the Art Institute in Chicago. So a lot of people spread out, but there are some people who are going to the same schools. So you never know, there's actually a pretty good chance that you're going to end up going to college with at least one of the people that you meet there, especially if you are actually 100% planning on going to that very school. You're probably going to see a lot of the same people, which is really fun. And there are just good connections to make. Young, determined artists, it's always good to have people of the same mindset in your contact list, especially as an artist. And I think it's another pro to this whole program is it's just really good to see the environment of an art school. So it's just really important to kind of see how an art school works, especially if you have never seen that before. If you've never done dual enrollment at an art school before, or taken any classes at any other art school. it's very important to kind of see that before you go into one, I think. And for me it was interesting to see how it differs from the school that I was so used to taking dual enrollment at, and how it's the same. I think in a lot of the ways it was the same, but there were definitely some differences too. So the cons are, you know, we were kind of babied, there were a lot of rules, and it wasn't exactly a perfect taste of the real college experience. You're obviously going to have a lot more freedom and a lot more classes, a lot more is just going to be happening when you're in actual college. But I think it's a good transitional step to take, and I would definitely recommend doing a program like this if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, don't spend all your money on this. Obviously college is way more important to save up for than just doing a pre-college program, but if you are able to, maybe if your family members can contribute in any way, or if you get good scholarships, then I would definitely say do it, because it's a really good experience. It's really fun to be in a place that's completely new to you, if it is completely new, or just any place completely alone. If you're flying there, that's a whole experience too. Just having to take care of yourself completely is really interesting. So yeah, I hoped that this video was informative, and let me know if you are going to pre-college programs what your thoughts are and what program you're going to. That it's so interesting when people who are young just are so determined and know that they want to pursue something as strongly as this. And I think that doing a pre-college program really shows colleges as well that you are determined in progressing in your art and being professional and taking yourself seriously. So yeah.